Yo,
What's up?
so yeah, um, I guess we just start making your character, right?
Yeah, but explain to me again what exactly are we doing?
Sure. So, what I kind of perceived was that, like in the last campaign we did, um, we never really had like that much of a backstory. Like the first thing we did, or like, well, what you guys tried to do was like find that treasure and stuff, but you never found out anything in
Yeah, we'll
particular
still look
about that.
for it, right?
Sorry.
We're still looking for it, right?
Yeah, you're still looking for it, but like I feel like there are no interesting characters in any sort, uh, in that like there's no backstory behind it. I feel like, and well, because we haven't been playing for what 3 weeks or something. Like
Yeah, it's 3 weeks, I
yeah,
think.
like nobody is really into that story anymore. So what I thought is we could create a campaign um, that like is much more focused on the backstory. Like I already did that. Like I created key characters um that have a really deep personality. So that way, it's not just like some random NPC you meet and you're like, oh okay, hello, we want this and that and blah blah blah. But those NPCs will react in a certain way based on their really deep character, really deep personality. Um, on top of that, I thought because Tyree so far is the only well original character still left. I thought we could just use him and say what happened was after the campaign we are currently playing or not playing for that matter. Tyree just went somewhere else and tried to build up his own thieves guild because to me that seems like a really interesting story, especially to create personalities and stuff. And so what I did was I looked at the map and then I came up with like a general world story, if you want to call it that. Like, so what's actually going on in the world, and so basically there's a war between the two kingdoms. If you want to go to Roll20, we can take a look at the map so I can tell you like where we are, like what we're talking about. It's in the well, more or less not top right, but like to the right, just above the Divindales mountain range. All right. So if you look at it, it's called the city Tyree is in at the moment, or would be when we start, is Coldstad, and
Where exactly is it?
Cold. Oh, that's it's to the right, just below, well, a little bit below the East Elvenlands and above the Divindales mountain range. The biggest city close to it is called Imperia.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
see
it's the
here.
kingdom of Imperia. Oh, right. So
Oh, here, right?
yeah, and then like Coldstad, the city I'm talking about, is here.
Okay.
Right. So, God. So yeah, what I was thinking is that Tyree just built up his own thieves guild. Um, it's still not that big, but it also like it already has like some people in it. Swag just created his character yesterday, and he's well, if you want to call it a spy for this thieves guild. So he's a beggar, and he has like a particular backstory, etc. But we don't have to reveal that just yet. Um, and the important thing is that his story um, his story like has a lot to do with the overall story as well. So this is really important, you know. I don't want to throw your characters in there and you like you don't even know what's going on and stuff, but it should be more like you live in this world and you know you got an idea of what's going on. There's a reason for you to be there. Because, you know, oftentimes in D&D it's just like, you know, you guys meet in a bar or in a pub and you're now going somewhere for some kind of quest. But I don't want this to be like this. I rather want you to have a reason to be there, you know, so it all
Hmm.
makes sense. So, for example, Swag is there because he so Cold Set you have to know is an old military encampment. So like veterans, military veterans, went there after they managed to win the siege of Boston, which is if you just look up, I'll just ping it. It's there. So the Kingdom of Imperia and the Kingdom of Jalahalla um, are in war against each other, and Boston was once owned by Jalahalla, but then Imperia or the armies of Imperia managed to you know besiege this city and then eventually capture it as well. And a big part of this is a general. So like this one general managed to like you know make a plan and basically deceive those defenders of Boston, and you know he led an attack onto the main gates of this city, which was actually just a distraction, and then he managed to sneak into this town or this city um, with his elite troops, and then eventually you know like captured the city, like opened the gates and stuff. And Swag's character was part of the troops that you know went to attack the main gate as a distraction, but was not decapitated because then he wouldn't have a head, but you know that would be kind of
Plot twist.
weird. But he was hit by some kind of magic. Like we didn't specify this more because Swag himself or his character wouldn't know. So he was hit by some kind of magic. He was injured. He lost one eye, but he still went with his comrades to Coldstead. But because you know, he got really ugly and he kind of, you know, he got struck by magic, so people feared him now. So because of that, he, yeah, like everybody hated him. Everybody despised him.
Wait, he was working for Jahala or Imperia?
He was working for Imperia.
Okay, continue.
And yeah,
Hates him?
so then like you know his former comrades hated him, so now like he became a beggar, and you know he tried to survive somehow in this city of his well former comrades who didn't really know him anymore or hated him. Like everybody you know formed a family and stuff, but he was the only one. Well, not the only one, but like one of those guys who you know who just couldn't manage to live this normal life. So then he became a beggar and eventually got picked up by somebody from the Thieves Guild, you know, recruiting him, saying, "Yo, dude, I'll give you food. I'll give you well some amount of money if you spy for us. You know, if you find out the rumors, like if you just well, if you basically just tell us what you see during your life on the streets, because he obviously lives on the streets."
Yeah, so this guild he's working for now, is that Tyrese or someone else's?
That's Tyrese Guild. So Coldstead
So
is a kind
this is
of
like years after like Alphonse died, right?
yeah, it is. It is. It's like
Wait, Tyrese, is he a human or an elf?
Tyrese an elf,
No, okay.
so that way it kind of makes sense as well, because you know he could say, so like to everybody else, if he doesn't want to reveal his real past, he could always say, well, yeah, I'm coming from the East Elven lands, which you know are just above there, so that would make sense. But in fact, like he's actually you know down from well somewhere below the Divendale's mountain range, so you know it all kind of makes sense story wise. Um, So now what we need to do is we need to create a character for you that has some kind of reason to be in that town, and that also has some kind of reason uh, to work with this thieves guild. So, as I said to Swag as well, it could just be a thief for the thieves guild, obviously. It could also be a fighter, like some kind of bodyguard of Tyrese, maybe. It could be some kind of spy, as Swag is. It could be some kind of ranger who scouts out things in the forest, like some kind of hideouts or something. You could be a shady merchant that sells stuff on the black market. There's like a lot of things. You just have to be creative now, and we can do that together. Obviously, well, we will do this together, so it all makes sense in the great storyline.
Okay, so we have Tyree, who's basically like average thief, right? Steal stuff and
Yeah,
crap like that.
yeah, exactly.
Swag's character, who's basically a spy, right?
Yeah, I mean he's just D&D in-game wise, he's a thief as well, but he has some special abilities. I mean, we're still using the same system. So for his, well, passion, if you want to call it that, he has what do we call it? Like illusionist or something. So magic is a really rare thing in this world still. So he sometimes, like, he can call upon this skill, and sometimes he somehow manages to create little illusions, or like some deceptive things that that help him in his thief's career. So that's why he's an exceptionally good thief for some reason, and nobody understands how he does this, but like apparently it has something to do with his injury, maybe. So again, this will be a thieves campaign, so like, and also a very story-driven campaign. So don't worry too much about like the group composition. Like, of course, usually we would say, oh, okay, we got two thieves already. Maybe we need a cleric now, or maybe we need a fighter now. But you should just focus on what kind of character you'd like to play in such a campaign, and try to think try to think about how it would work out, and like what kind of backstory he would have, and then like we together make sure that your character has some kind of place in this world.
I'm gonna have to think about it a bit more than like 5 minutes, to
Sure,
like
sure, sure,
really
sure,
think
sure.
about backstory and stuff.
Of course, of course.
But right now, like I'm thinking about making an assassin type.
Yeah, that will work really well. So, okay, so let's just start from there. So, you want to make some kind of assassin, right? So
Yep.
now we got to think of a reason why you are in Coldstead, because there has to be some kind of reason. So, in Coldstead there are. Let me just look at my notes. There are some key people. So obviously the former officers of this general's army still have positions of power. So the general itself is the lord of the town. Um, he is quite sickly though. He's 80 years old already, and he doesn't really lead the town anymore because he's just too sickly, and he basically takes care of himself only, and that's it. So then we have another officer. He's called Eldwin Goldstem. For the others, I don't have names yet, but I guess I can come up with some names later on.
That the truth doesn't matter. I remember names like I remember faces, and that's not good.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. So basically, Eldwin Goldstem is the coin master of the town. So he takes care of every financial stuff, etc. So what this means is over the time he established some kind of well some kind of position of